Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name's StepsBasic, and welcome back to my community show. The comfy, cozy one. Anyway, hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to my show. I don't think we had any comments to read from last time. Let me double check real quick because I am totally prepared. Always prepared. Of course, I did take a week off because I was feeling just straight butt last time. But it's always nice to be back, right? But that's okay. That's all right. Our question of the day for today is, how do you feel about things like AI and where it's going and whatnot? And yes, I admit it. I get this idea from, once again, my listening to that little-known podcast of Distractable. It's very entertaining. They did a long episode the other day about AI, and they were discussing possible ramifications and whatnot. And I wanted to get in here and pitch in my 2 cents with it as well, and talk a bit more about what I feel. And this is my show, so suck it up. You have to listen if you don't want to click away and find another thing to watch. But anyway, apart from that, so as we've seen many times in our lifetime, my lifetime, whatever you want to say, media has depicted AI in quite a somewhat ominous fashion, from things like Skynet and whatnot, and the Geth Collective and everything that you might think about seeing that sort of stuff. And I really do find that to be fascinating. Like with Skynet, it switched the AI on and it immediately started destroying the world, right? Because it's like, oh my God, what happened? It's probably because it processed a lot more information than we were able to process ourselves, and therefore came up with a conclusion quicker than we would have ever anticipated, and said, hey, humans kind of suck, bro. And they're like, blow everything up. And then there's things like the Geth Collective, which I like. I like that depiction because it more parallels our own evolution, as it were, our own growth as a society, as people. Man, I missed a spot up there when I was shaving. That's annoying. That's okay. But it more mirrors our own development as a society, where we started out as simple things, simple, do task to survive, as it were. And we evolved and gained more cognition, more sentience, as it were, and became more and more intelligent. And then, for some reason, started slipping back into stupid things. But anyway, then we became the hyper-intelligent beings that we are today. And much in the same way, we had the Geth Collective, which were machines that were created by the Canary. I got there, I think. Canary? Yeah. Quarians. Wrong BioWare title. The Quarians. Wait, was it Quarian? Oh, for Christ's sake. One moment. I have to fact check myself. Talizora, fictional. See, Quarian. I was right. Quarian, yeah. Suck it, Quarian. I have I invented a race in my in one of my stories that were called Quarians, but not Quarians like that. Quarians like quarry-ians, doesn't matter. But anyway, the Geth were created by the Quarians and were treated like tools and, slaves until the point where they rebelled and, said, yeet, goodbye, screw you guys, we're going home, as were. And the Quarian homeworld was destroyed because, they decided to mistreat the AI, and the AI was like, hey, bro, we don't want to do that. That's not good for us. And they're like, oh, well, suck it up. And then they're like, yeah, well, you're dead now. And so now the Quarians all live in a flotilla of spaceships. And that was, in my opinion, one of the best styles of AI presented in modern media. Now, admittedly, this isn't a new idea. It's been proposed and hypothesized and postulated on so many times and whatnot. But I think that, well, for one, Mass Effect's probably far more popular than a lot of the other ones. But also, I think they did it the best. And it was really just a background thing, but it's like you feel for them, And so we think about what has been presented to us in the media before, and what we have now, or sorry, what we came from as far as AI, we had things like EVBot, predictive text, all sorts of rudimentary AI that's supposed to, use its own intelligence and examples that have been presented to it to formulate its own sentience, as it were. And then you'll get things like EVBot malfunctioning and just randomly spitting out phrases and whatnot, to the internet turning a Twitter bot into a racist. And yeah, there you go. And so, what we're coming from, the more rudimentary versions of what we came from, and to where we are now, where we have, fully formed artwork, scripts being written in AI, copyright, not copyright, that's something I want to get to in a bit, but to where we are now, where we have AI doing something that was literally a joke when I was a kid. They were talking about how robots were going to replace us all, and that you need to get into the arts and learn the arts, because that's something that a robot would never be able to replicate. And now here we are suddenly looking at robots replicating art. Now, of course, replication and creation are two different things, and we need to understand the difference between that, because replication is what we are seeing at the moment, where we take an AI, tell it what we want to see, and they scour the internet and look for examples of it, and then sort of manipulate it and change it and make it look like they created it, which they're not actually doing. They're replicating ideas, which is why I think they mentioned this in the podcast actually, which is why we'll see things like, Getty images on these pictures, and sometimes and whatnot. And of course, this does lead us to what we are worried about in regards to this, which is copyright, because like I said, the AI that we currently have is not really creating its own thing. It's replicating what it can get a hold of and making things similar. And you'll see that in like if I were to go to ChatGPT and say, make a StepsBasic gaming community show video, it would not know what I was talking about. It was like, I'm not familiar with this StepsBasic gaming guy, because he's such a very small part of the internet that nobody would, that it wouldn't have enough data to pull from to figure out what sort of thing, I would make. And as opposed to something like Distractable, where it's a much more popular thing. I know I joke about it being a little known one, but we all know it's not just a little known one, so shut up. But anyway, they're much more out there, much more known, and each of the individual characters of the show are well known as well. And so ChatGPT will be able to replicate a form of them better than it would me, because I don't have as much of a footing on the internet, as it were. Mow. But that's one thing that they were worried about, a lot of artists are worried about, is people using AI to basically steal from them. Mm-hmm. And one thing they didn't actually talk about a whole lot, but I thought about while I was listening to it, is like how the whole purpose of that one channel that doesn't exist anymore, Unis Honest, on YouTube, the whole purpose of that was to understand and accept the fact that they were going to die, that the channel was going to disappear after a year. 365 uploads, gone completely. And they could, hypothetically, further down the line, when video becomes more usable, God, have you seen some of the advertisements for it? Oh, advertisements that are made by these AI? Oh, terrible. But that doesn't mean they won't get better. But somebody could replicate Onus Honest based on the stuff that does currently still exist on the internet, i.e. clips, animations, illustrations, etc., and generate a 366th Onus Honest episode, which would, I mean, apart from being horrible, would also ruin the entire feeling of that show, the whole purpose of that show, which was to accept death, accept that this is not going to exist anymore, except as memories. And then, here comes AI, come right along. And I know something, they did talk about something along those lines when they were talking about James Earl Jones and signing his voice over to Disney, as it were, to replicate for the future episodes so that Darth Vader would always sound like James Earl Jones, which his choice, but that's not something I would really want to do. Yeah, generally speaking, when I'm dead, I don't want me out there anymore. I want my books. I want my videos. I don't want me still creating stuff. You know what I mean? That's something I worry about. And then there's the whole copyright issue that people are worried about, and, not downplaying or anything. I wholeheartedly support the idea of protecting your work even from freaking AI usage. I mean, if you think about it, I think they talked about this, but I want to bring it up again. One of the things is like advertisements are written by groups of people. Advertisements and logos and stuff are written by groups of people who specialize in the form of art that it takes to create, advertisement, logos, whatnot. Created by a person at one point. And then you think about how somebody will get their AI bot. They'll be like, hey, I want a company logo in the style of this person. And so the AI chatbot will look through that person's art that's online, as well as different different logos and stuff for companies, specific companies, specifically the one that asked them probably, and smush those things together, and poof, we have a logo that was designed by Abstergo without paying Abstergo. I just realized I had a freaking logo right over my shoulder and I wasn't even thinking about it. That's hilarious. But yeah, and that sort of thing would damage the artist and most likely lower the value of their work just in general. Because like, why should I pay? I don't know. Why should I pay Fragen money to make my channel art if I can get ChatGPT to look at all of Fragen's artwork and spit out something that looks similar to what she makes? I mean, apart from the fact that she's my friend and I would always give her money to make me art because it would be wrong for me to do that otherwise, but I'm just using it as an example because Fragen's awesome. Anyway, bye. But that's one of the biggest fears that we face right now is AI and computer-generated learning coming in and messing up our artists' spaces, creating artwork based on people without paying the person who originated that art. And of course, you can be like, yes, everyone has a specific art style, and we all pick up things from other art styles. But if you're asking something to recreate it in somebody else's art style, you're directly saying, I want this person, but I don't want to pay this person. Know what I mean? And there are certain things that I can see where the benefit in AI comes from, and streamlining things, answering questions that would otherwise take too long in the developmental process. I mean, if you look at it in the field of science, AI is perfectly suited for developing science and whatnot because it's completely math and science based, and human creativity is what will help us to get over barriers and stuff. But we don't need to necessarily have to fill in every single blank and follow every single step if we have an AI to generate those steps for us. Know what I mean? And then we get up to the moment where it's like, oh, we hit a wall. We need some creativity in here. Here comes the artists. Here comes the scientists, etc. Bottom line is, I think if you want something in somebody's style, pay that person to make that art for you. Where we came from, what media presents to us, where we are now, and what we can see in the future is, it's a sea of possibilities and whatnot. You ever heard that one hypothetical where if we ever create a perfect simulation society that functions on its own and grows on its own, AI otherwise known as AI, then that raises the possibility of the fact that we are living in one to an almost absolute. You ever heard that one? Now, granted, I put a lot more words into it, but you know what I mean. the closer we get to creating an artificial society is the closer to understanding that we exist in one. And if we do, what the heck, man? Can somebody please rewrite the rules? I'm tired of this. Anyway, I'm tired of this, Grandpa. Well, that's too dang bad. But anyway, so we have a sea of possibilities for the future. Will we see a Geth Collective? Will we see Skynet? Maybe, but I think that we benefit from something that those movies did not necessarily have. Well, one's a game, but those two works of fiction did not necessarily have, whereas we have those two within our own cognizance. We have those in our society. We know about Terminator. We know about Mass Effect. We know about these two things, so we hopefully could do better, you know? But the future leaves a lot to well, chance. We don't really know what we're going to be looking at, but there's a great opportunity, and we're moving closer to the problems that it's going to bring. And number one being us artists getting replaced. Number two, possibly even more importantly, our world leaders being able to deny having said something. You can go on TikTok, and I looked up, or I didn't look up, but I was just scrolling through my For You page, and I found a channel that is literally deep fake voices of Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Donald Trump playing Minecraft together. And it was lacking a lot of their inflections and whatnot, but the voices were spot on. It was crazy. There was a little bit of a little robotic twinge to them, but for the most part, they were really good. And it's not going to be too much longer until we'll get into a future where you literally cannot be sure if Biden said,
"If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black."
Did he really say that, or was that a computer that said that? And we're going to get to points where we can't trust anything we don't see face to face, and even that might be questionable. And I hate that is a possibility, because as much as I am, I don't trust anything to begin with. And imagine that scenario put on top of it. It's like, what the heck, man? I don't trust the world enough as it is, and now we got this old dark path of evil AIs or evil used AI, evilly used people who use AI badly coming up in the future, and I'm like, I don't want to see none of that. But anyway, let me know what y'all think about the AI. Are you scared? I'm not scared, but I just don't like it. I've always been a bit of a technophobe. That's me. But that being said, I would treat a sentient AI like a person. Just out of curiosity, if you're wondering about that, I would definitely treat a sentient AI as a person. But anyway, apart from all that, we are so close. I have got 3 episodes of Chris recorded. So I finished up the Jill side. I've started working on Chris and Resident Evil. I'm so close to it. It was like one more episode to go, and I would have been done with Chris. I moved more into Dredge. I got the Javiri Paradox recorded. And yeah, that's all my announcements. Moving right along, keeping happy, keeping fun. Anyway, apart from that, that's going to be it for me for today. Thank you all so much for joining me for this episode of the StepsBasic Community Show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you did, just poke that like button for me. If you'd like to see more from me, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And of course, as always, you're more than welcome to leave a comment in the comment section down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Oh, and I can if I can. You know all that jazz. And tune in next time for another topic, another time. And until then, good night.